Okay, hi there. Today we're going to talk about obligation and prohibition, the words have to, must, and should. We use have to and must plus infinitive, okay, in these following examples. You have to wear a seatbelt when you take a taxi. I must buy a new pen. This one isn't working. Okay, these are very similar uses. We're talking about obligation, okay? You have to wear a seatbelt when you take a taxi, and I must buy a new pen. This one isn't working. Oftentimes we use have to when we're talking about obligation that comes from outside, okay? You have to wear a seatbelt, it's the law. And we use must more when it's obligation that comes from ourselves, okay? I need to buy a pen for myself. I must buy a new pen. But we can also use them interchangeably. Another example. Do you have to book a table to eat at this restaurant? You must bring your own paper to the exam tomorrow. We can use must and have to for strong recommendations. Let's look at some examples. You have to call us the next time you're in town. You really must try the peppers. They're delicious. These are recommendations. Now remember that must is a modal verb, so it doesn't change form. Okay, it's used always with the infinitive without to. We can use it to talk about present habits, I must drink more water, or about the future obligations, I must get up early tomorrow. But have to isn't a modal verb, so we can change the form. We can use it to talk about the past. Instead of have to, we can say I had to take my pet iguana to the doctor's. I have to eat less meat, that's the present form, or we can use it in the future. You'll have to bring your identity card tomorrow. With the negative forms, don't have to and mustn't, these words don't mean the same thing at all. They're quite different from each other. Don't have to means no obligation, and mustn't is prohibition. Let's look at some examples. You don't have to wear a costume if you don't want to. Okay, there's no obligation. You don't have to take the dishes to the kitchen. I'll do it. Okay, but let's look at prohibition. You mustn't make noise after midnight. It's prohibited. Students mustn't talk when their teacher is talking. It's prohibited. Now let's look at the modal verb should and shouldn't. Okay, this is also, we don't change the form of this because it's a modal verb. When we use it with the infinitive without to. We use should or shouldn't for advice or opinion. Here are some examples. You should get more sleep. Okay, that's advice. You shouldn't eat before bedtime. It's bad for you. The mayor should make more pedestrian streets. Okay, now this is an opinion. I think the mayor should make more pedestrian streets. Another form that means the same thing as should and shouldn't is ought to and ought not to. We use this with the infinitive without to. You ought to get more sleep means the same thing as you should get more sleep. You ought not to eat before bedtime is the same as you shouldn't eat before bedtime. And the mayor ought to make more pedestrian streets is the same as the mayor should make more pedestrian streets. Okay, that's all for our lesson on obligation and prohibition. Remember to do the exercises and practice, practice, practice. Thank you.